very, very important story that I want to discuss with you. Viewers, in the life of every political outfit espousing a righteous cause on behalf of a social group, there comes a time to make choices. How a political group exercises those choices in the course of its advocacy matters as much as its mission. There is an old cliche: the ends justify the means. Some people believe that the means employed are sometimes more important than the ends. Now, viewers, when it comes to deciding your choices, an organization can take the moral high road or the low road. Today, the VHP, or the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, that claims to speak for Hindus, is at a similar fork in the road, viewers. It can choose to take the high road, or it can choose to take the low road. It can choose to mainstream itself by coming up with an intelligent discourse to articulate its point of view, or it could become a mirror opposite of the various organizations that it despises and fights against. Unfortunately, viewers, many of its leaders are routinely seen taking the low, callow road. A top VHP leader and Joint Secretary Surendra Jain is just the latest. During a function, Mr. Jain glorified those who attacked namazis as Bajrangis, wo ghar mein ghus ke marenge. He further went on a rant against an imaginary love and land jihad by one community and warned that community to pack up and leave India. Viewers, his words reminded one of the words of organizations, Islamist organizations in Jammu and Kashmir, like the TRF, viewers. The TRF, which goes out of its way to call for the externment of Hindus from the valley. In a dire threat, Mr. Jain vowed that he is ready to pick up arms for Dharam Raksha. First, listen to his open incitement.
जिस दिन हिंदू संकल्प के साथ खड़ा हो जाएगा कि देश में किसी विधर्मी को अखाड़ा नहीं चलाने देंगे, पूरे देश में फसाद नहीं करने देंगे, उसी दिन ये सारा का सारा विषय समाप्त हो जाएगा। हम मुसलमानों को समाप्त नहीं करना चाहते, लेकिन भारत में रहकर वो पाकिस्तान जिंदाबाद के नारे लगाएं, लैंड जिहाद करें, लव जिहाद करें, ये किसी भी हालत में स्वीकार नहीं होगा। आज देश भर में 10 लाख से ज्यादा कार्यकर्ता त्रिशूल धारण कर हिंदू धर्म की रक्षा का संकल्प ले चुके हैं।
Viewers, the point is, why would the VHP go out of its way to sound more and more like those they despise? The binary that the VHP is invoking, and you just heard Mr. Jain, is of the same kind one hears from the mouth of the TRF, the Kashmiri Islamist group that asks Hindu to clear out of Kashmir. For the same reasons. It's just in reverse, viewers. Now, imagine this gets amplified internationally. This gets amplified, viewers, by the ecosystem that then begins to troll the party in power, the Prime Minister in power, for saying, you don't walk the talk on Sabka Saath. This undermines Sabka Saath, viewers, that the Prime Minister himself swears by. And let's ask some questions tonight. Shriraj Nair, national spokesperson of the VHP, Rahul Ishwar, an activist, a Hindu rights activist, is also with us. Rahul Ishwar, I'm sure that when the VHP speaks the language of some of its sworn adversaries, who we all despise, who we all prosecute, then it does A, itself no favors, it does the nation no favors, and it certainly does those in the government, especially the Prime Minister, who are calling for the de-weaponization of language to promote Sabka Saath no favors. Would you agree with me, or do you think I'm being oversensitive?
Absolutely, you're right, Rahul Shivshankar ji. Let me be very honest. I'm proud to share the surname, my first name, with you, because the introduction you gave was so wonderful. I'm a proud Hindu activist, but let me be very honest in saying, India or any other nation cannot survive without communal harmony. We have the second largest Muslim population in the world. Most of the Muslims who chose Gandhiji's India over Jinnah's Muslim. I'm very respectful of VHP. I had the privilege to participate in some of the programs of VHP, but I hope VHP leadership will come out and alienate themselves from such kind of remarks. Pujaniya Sarsang Chalak Mohan Bhagwat ji is on a mission to build Hindu-Muslim unity. He is reaching out to mosques, to madrasas. Modi ji is walking the talk on Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. In UAE, he is inaugurating a Hindu temple. And in India, we are talking about, I don't want to use any strong word, but we are speaking the language of Asruddin Owaisi's Jr. or the Kashmiri extremists. See, this is not Hinduism. This is not India. This is unfortunate. And please remember one more thing. There are some issues. Post-conversions are there. There are some issues of, many hues. Let us complain to the police. Let us talk to the law. We have a very vibrant Prime Minister. We have Ajit Doval, who is a very efficient National Security Advisor. We have an entire security apparatus. Why create mistrust for Modi government? Why create mistrust against Ajit Dovalji? Why create mistrust for our establishment? I'm pained for our Muslim brothers. When they hear these kind of things, they will feel bad as Indians. Please remember, let Jinnah's ideology never succeed. Jinnah believed that Hindus and Muslims cannot unite. We should not allow Jinnah's ideologies to triumph. We should allow the Hindu son, Mahatma Gandhi's ideology of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, which is effectively implemented by Modi ji. I hope Shriraj Nair ji, who is a very senior and respected person, will say that these kind of remarks are not good and it is painful. And for a Muslim, it will push them to the boundary. And I am apologetic, I am sorry to the Muslim brothers for them hearing these kind of things from people like Yedi Narasimhan, Sadhvi Prachi and the earlier person.
Okay, let me bring in Mr. Nair. Mr. Nair, look, I know that today you're feeling slightly aggrieved by my introduction. My point is that the VHP does good work, but you have certain elements, and every political outfit has them. I'm not saying that it's only confined to the VHP. Why do you not pull them up? Why don't you come out and say that this is not acceptable? The Prime Minister has led by example recently. Rightly, wrongly, those people will be tried by the law, etc., whether they're right or wrong, but they took a principled stand. Why do you want to find yourself being bracketed, sir, with, these organizations that are barking at the fringe like the TRF, etc.? Why not today say we stand for something more? Mr. Nair, or am I today asking you the wrong question? Simple. I want to ask you, sir, do you side with reason or do you side with this horrific communal speech that incites violence? That's all.
Well, Rahul, your question is absolutely right, but I would like to clarify the issue. You rightly quoted about Kashmir. Now, we all know what happens when the demography changes. Kashmir is the only state after the partition which happened only because of religion. The Muslims of the subcontinent never wanted to stay with the Hindu brethren, and they wanted partition of the nation, and they partitioned.
But Mr. Nair,
only one state
I'm only asking you, forget about
that was Kashmir.
One second, Mr. Nair, you're not answering my question. Sir, I beg you.
What happened to the Hindus there?
I beg you.
Rahul,
you're not answering my question. We all know, sir, I'm part of that problem. I've suffered. I'm half Kashmiri Hindu. So I know what happened. You don't have to tell me my own history. I'm only asking you, Nair Saab, won't we all become part of the problem when we start speaking like this? And do you think, just answer that question. We know the history, we know the geography, know what happens. Your concerns at some levels are valid. You might have some, but why don't you express them intelligently like you are? Not like this chap, Surendra Jain ji. This is not right.
True.
It undermines Mr. Modi's Sabka Saath. Today, this same speech will be used by the ecosystem to sit in Harvard and New York Times and discredit India and India's growth story. We are not China.
Rahul, let me tell you. Let me introduce Dr. Surendra Jain. He is a Ph.D. He is a retired principal of a college. If he has to utter this, you have to understand the kind of pain and agony he is undergoing in Mewat.
Then you see.
Demography.
Okay. Then, Mr. Nair, let me tell you. I've run out of time. Let me tell you. If you're going to justify this, then the other side will justify their pain and say that our hate mongers have also said this because they also feel compelled. And we cannot win this argument, sir. I'm only asking you to introspect. I'm only asking you to introspect. No, 1 second. I'm only asking you to think about the larger nation, what the Prime Minister is trying to do. Mr. Jaishankar goes from one capital of India, of the world to another, saying that India is an inclusive society, stands in the UAE with the leaders of the UAE. He goes to other Islamic nations where he says, India is a land for everyone. Sarvadharva Sambhava is what he says. You're letting this mission down. I leave it to you, sir. You might have your reasons. I don't think they are valid. I leave it